Infinitives are similar to participles in that they take what's normally a process and they construe it as kind of a nominal or as a thing. But in this case, you wouldn't gloss it with ing on the end. So you wouldn't say doing, you would say to do. To do. And you can treat that as a nominal. You can say to do, to be, or not to be, which is a question, of course. But in this, so let's just look at these examples here. You've got ha legon en auto menein. The saying, see this is from Lego to I say. Now, it's got the own ending. We've got ha legon. That's a very common pattern, as I pointed out. And here you'll gloss that as saying. The one, you can say the one who says, or the one saying. In him. And then you've got this menein. Now, meno means remain. And in this case, it's got an infinitive ending, so it's an infinitive. And I'll show you the most common infinitive endings in a paradigm. But the way you gloss an infinitive is to and then the verb. That's a general way to gloss it. Now, you can change that as you put it together into a larger structure. You have to sort of think, okay, well, what's being communicated here? And you'll see that in a second. But we've got something like to remain. Menein, to remain. And so the way you might say all of this is the saying in him to remain. And let's try to make sense of that a bit. You might think of the in him to remain as something that's being said. So you might gloss it as something like claiming, the claiming in him to remain. And then you can think of the claiming thing. What's the claiming thing here? That's a thing. It's a nominal. It's a complex thing. It's something that's doing a process. It's the one who is claiming. It's the one who is claiming to remain in him. And so then let's look at this next example and let's see if we can figure this out. We've got the same kind of construction here. So we'll say the one claiming. And then here we've got, instead of in him to remain, we've got en to photi enai. Now, you don't know the verb, but the verb is just to be. But then en to photi, this comes from phos, light, and it's in the light. So to be in the light. So in this case, we don't have the one claiming to remain in him. We have the one claiming to be in the light. So infinitives, you would just gloss them with to be, to do, to make, to think, to say, whatever it might be. So it's just something you have to be aware of. And if you know how to gloss it, then you can know how to make sense of it. And that's the whole key. There's a lot of complexity that goes into understanding these things. But the key for you to start reading is to recognize patterns. And the best way to recognize patterns is to make them meaningful to you. That's how you recognize them. That's how you remember them. And that's essentially what identifying patterns is finding meaning where it's not necessarily obvious. The pattern is the meaning in the chaos, so to speak. And here you've got, a chaos of Greek words, but you can recognize a couple patterns. You can recognize this participle here, the one who claims. So we saw it once, and the next time we see it, oh, I've seen that before. The one who claims, in the light, and then to be. Now, because it's an infinitive, we can say, well, I know it's an infinitive because I can look at all kinds of different resources. I can look at the vocabulary. I can look at the word bank. I can look at an interlinear or something like that. But the way you make sense of it is, well, it's a kind of process that's being treated as a nominal as well.